if you speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, they live and breathe and die, and it's all in or nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what you've got to be. If you want to be a really successful entrepreneur, you've got to be all in.
Yeah.
What you do. Now, if you've got investments and other things on the side, some, light touch peripheral stuff, that's okay too. But if you don't, eat glass for your business, essentially, then you're probably not an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so true. And I listen a lot to Grant Cardone, and I'm listening to one of his books, and he talks about the fact that you have to be obsessed, like really obsessed with whatever you're doing, to the point of crazy obsession to really succeed. And these days, with the competition being so strong, you do. I think you have to be all in and more. Welcome to Playing with Perspective, the suspended animation podcast, where we hear real stories from real people and we tackle all sorts of fun topics in the areas of business, marketing, entrepreneurship, mindset, the arts, and, well, life itself. It's amazing what you will pick up. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back, everyone. Darren Saul here, your host of Playing with Perspective, the suspended animation podcast. It's episode 249. Hope everybody's doing really, really well and ready for 2025. It's going to be a fantastic year. I have the amazing Mark Ullah in the studio with me today. How you doing, Mark?
Really good. Thank you. Looking forward to this year.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this year. Looking forward to this conversation. Everyone out there, we're going to be chatting all about the freedom factor, scaling your business and simplifying your life. So just to give you a little bit of insight into who Mark is and what he does, Mark is a seasoned business coach and a proud member of the Trusted Advisors Network, driven by a passion for helping business owners achieve their goals. With over 25 years of entrepreneurship and corporate leadership experience, Mark specialises in guiding business owners to build their ideal business, one that provides not only exceptional income, but also the freedom to truly enjoy the fruits of their labour. Through the Trusted Advisors Network, Mark leverages an array of accessible tools, resources, and courses to deliver transformative results for his clients. His coaching focuses on 4 key areas: boosting profitability, preventing burnout, attracting top talent, and scaling for sustainability. His mission is simple yet impactful: empower your business owners to thrive, not just survive, and turn their aspirations into a reality. So, Mark, welcome on the show. Really looking forward to getting into this content with you. Always great to do these kind of episodes at the beginning of the year to get everybody ready to take on and conquer 2025.
Yeah, pumped. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Excellent, man.
Yeah.
So let's jump in. Obviously, 25 years of experience in business and entrepreneurship. What makes you so passionate about helping others in that journey?
So, all right. The best way to answer this, I think, is to probably give you an insight into the last 48 years in just a few minutes. I think getting to understand my childhood, my background's probably worthwhile because it sort of defines who I am. So
Amazing.
I'm going to give that a go.
Great.
So I was born in the UK and actually come from a fairly poor Bangladeshi family. I'm the eldest of 5, so I've got 3 brothers and a sister. And I became an entrepreneur at a really young age out of necessity.
Wow.
Essentially, the need to survive. Between the ages of 14, no, in actual fact, 12 to 16, I had a few little business ventures on the go.
All right, nice.
To fund the things that I wanted to do that my parents couldn't afford to give me, essentially. So,
what were you doing? Car washes, lemonade stands?
Actually, a bit more sophisticated than that. So I was buying and selling designer clothes. That's one of the things that I was doing, and I was kind of onto the whole Uber thing really early, but before platforms. So what I used to do is I used to buy capacity in older students' cars at school.
Brilliant.
And I would sell that capacity to, people that were less fortunate, my friends.
Yeah.
and also people that lived outside the catchment area, so they didn't get free bus passes. So I'd sell that to them for like £1 or
That's
something.
incredible, mate. Very entrepreneurial, very forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of, in my DNA from a young age. It's something I guess I was born with.
Yeah.
And when I was 16, my parents separated.
Mhm.
So boys stayed with dad, sister went with mum, and I was promoted to sort of a household business manager overnight, running the day-to-day household things at home whilst dad was working. Because of that, I think I became really good at finance and business
Yeah.
early on. Yeah, so I had this entrepreneurial background, but I also have real world experience too. In my college years, I was part of a team that ran a personalized mug company. So we're now, like, I'm 17 years old. We're at school, run a business that was recognized by the Young Entrepreneurs of Europe Award.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool. It was a really cool thing. And then I left college, started working for big companies like British Airways, whilst always running side hustles. It was something that I've always done.
Yep. Did
And
you
then,
did you study business or marketing or anything like that?
yeah, I studied business, uh, but went to school, went to college, studied business. Did particularly well for. Well, let me put it to you this way: people didn't think I would do as well as I did at college, but hey, I applied myself when it counted. There was a whole bunch of other family sort of. I mentioned my parents had divorced, so there was all that sort of backdrop going on at the same time. It made it quite difficult, but I was pretty proud of what I achieved when I was there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So then, where are we? 1999 to 2004-ish. I'm getting to the point where we get to Australia here, but I traveled the world through those years. I worked and traveled. So I was working through Europe, the Middle East, China, India, Asia. Yeah. And then in 2004, I migrated to Australia, where I spent the next sort of 15 years in business and technology leadership roles with big business in industries like mining, oil and gas, and transport logistics and telecommunications. I did some work with Telstra.
Yeah.
And the last 6 years, I've been back into entrepreneurialism. So running different businesses, an electric vehicle company. I had a consultancy firm. I've just exited a digital marketing agency just recently.
Oh, wow.
And I had about 3 or 4 other interests in startups as well. So I think the cool thing for me is that over the last 20 years, I've been lucky enough to be a coach and a mentor through this whole, process. For various startup founders. I've coached for the Women in Technology program, and then of course for my clients too. Mm-hmm. So looping back to why I'm so passionate about what I do, as an entrepreneur, I have had really great successes, but I've also had some failures too. And as a business owner, I felt the highest of highs and I felt the lowest of lows, and every emotion in between, probably several times over. I know how amazing life can be when you get it right and when you get the right support, in your business. I've felt firsthand also, though, the pain that you can feel when you get it wrong.
Yeah.
So because of those learnings, because of my experience, that's why I feel like I can help, current business owners break free from those stresses and learn from my mistakes. And that's why now, as part of the Trusted Advisor Network, my clients can benefit from my global experience, but also 15 years of global coaching experience that the network brings too. Ultimately, I guess building a business that truly works for a business owner and not the other way around. That's why I get up every day.
Love it. Love it. Kind of back to your entrepreneurial grassroots spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people call me the entrepreneurial coach. I don't know whether that's well done or not, but it's something that, every coach has a kit bag of things they can bring to an engagement.
Yeah.
When you've been an entrepreneur, when you have a growth mindset, you bring something a little bit different to your engagement too, which I personally believe is a point of differentiation in my engagements with my clients.
Love it. And obviously, I'm going to ask a really interesting question, because there's always a debate about this question. You've obviously had a lot of side hustles and you have a passion for side hustles like I do. And a lot of business coaches would say, oh, you know what? You've got to just focus on one thing and one thing only. You can't distract yourself and do five things at once. What's your take on that?
You know what? In the early part of my life, I was much more bulletproof than I am in the latter part of my life.
Yeah.
So a 20-year-old Mark would say, you're crazy. Don't know what you're talking about. Of course, you can do five things at once.
Yeah.
The 48-year-old Mark, who I am today, I would tend to agree more to get sort of hyper focused on one area of business that you can be really, really good at and apply yourself there.
Nice.
Yeah. And I think if you speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, they live and breathe and die, and it's all in or nothing. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what you've got to be. If you want to be a really successful entrepreneur, you've got to be all in.
Yeah.
What you do. Now, if you've got investments in other things on the side, some, light touch peripheral stuff, that's okay too. But if you don't, eat glass for your business, essentially, then you're probably not an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so true. And I listen a lot to Grant Cardone, and I'm listening to one of his books, and he talks about the fact that you have to be obsessed, like really obsessed with whatever you're doing, to the point of crazy obsession to really succeed. And these days, with the competition being so strong, you do. I think you really have to be all in and more.
Yeah. I mean, I've realized that even more so now in 2025. I moved a lot of my other interests away, and I'm very, very invested in business coaching. And I am obsessed with helping business owners succeed. I actually truly believe that a business owner is better off with me than without me.
Wow. Nice.
That's how obsessed I am about it.
I love it. That's very cool. So let's kind of take this a bit further. And you talk about creating the ideal business. And you've touched on what that is, but can you expand on what that really means and why that's so important?
Yeah, an ideal business is a business that aligns with your goals and your values, but it also provides you with the freedom and income and long-term asset value that you deserve as a business owner, quite frankly. Yeah. It's a business that runs smoothly, it serves your customers exceptionally well, and it allows the owner to step back from the day-to-day without everything falling apart. A lot of owners are, single points of failure for their own business.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's really important, actually, because a lot of business owners that I speak to initially feel like their business is a bit of a burden and they're trapped in the day-to-day. And instead of owning a business, the business owns them.
Yeah.
It's
a classic,
sad,
classic situation.
Yeah, it's quite common. And look, I've been there too. I've been swimming in tar many, many times, which is why I know the value of coaching services and what it can do. So, look, for me, transitioning into an ideal business is really about regaining control and ensuring that your business supports your life, your family, your wife, your kids, and yourself.
Yeah.
And not the other way around. That's an ideal business for me.
Love it. And there's a lot of material, and content about that. Exactly. Because there's so many books about that. The classic story of the technician that becomes the business owner, but is still the single point of failure and still the technician. And I'm a lot like that in a way as well. I try to use outsourcing and assistance where I can. But what about people that actually like working in the business in that respect? Like, where do you find that? Is it about just finding a balance that's going to work for you?
Yeah, I think so. Look, my answer to this is it's okay to work in your business on the basis that you're working on the right things in your business. Mm-hmm. I see so many people spending 80% of their time and achieving 20% of results.
Yep. So true. Yep.
Yeah. So it's really, and we do a bunch of different things like time audits to extract the visibility of things like this. Yeah. If we can get a business owner working in their business on the 20% of tasks that add 80% of the value, that's where the money is.
That's the sweet spot. I love that. You've always got to be ruthless. You've got to be cutthroat and to say this stuff is not important or not important enough. I better focus on this because that's where 80% of my revenue is going to come from.
Yeah, 100%. Just delegate the other stuff or systemize it, put in tools and systems that get it off your plate, because it's not valuable for you to be spending money and time in that area of your business.
Yeah. And it's so easy to get caught up with doing those little tasks, playing around with Canva templates or whatever else, when you know that you're just wasting time and you shouldn't be doing other things, but you're avoiding something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can procrastinate really easily.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to get creative and do things like, logos and templates and PowerPoint presentations, but are they revenue producing? No. Probably not.
No, I love it. Yep. So true. Really good point. Because it's always interesting because not every business or not every business person wants to scale and build a business and manage staff. So it's really good to make that distinction, but give those kind of business owners a roadmap to how they can be as successful as they can be and not waste their time on all that stuff that doesn't produce.
Yeah. It's really hard. Like when you're in your business and you're close to your business, it's very, very hard to see those things, which is why coaches, mentors, close friends are required. They help you, identify and see those things. They're blind spots otherwise, when you're busy.
Yeah. Kind of a beautiful segue into my next question, which is what about people that say, oh, I don't need a coach. I've been doing this for so many years. What do I need a coach for?
That never happens, Darren. No, look, it's a completely valid perspective.
Yeah.
Because a lot of business owners, no one knows a business more so than the business owner. But like I just said, it's also hard to see the forest for the trees sometimes. So a coach isn't there necessarily to replace your expertise. They're there to bring an outside perspective. They're there to challenge your assumptions, and they're there to help you see solutions that you might not have considered, or you got your blinkers on and you're blindsided or whatever it is. So, but my view on this is that even the best athletes in the world have coaches.
So true.
Right? Yeah. So it's because someone on the outside can spot the opportunities for improvement in the things that you might miss when you're in the thick of it. Yeah. I'm a passionate golfer. Okay. I play a pretty good handicap of 1. And
oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, I've been worse, but most people would say that's pretty good, that's right? Amazing. And yeah, but it doesn't mean you can be complacent. So I'm okay. But I go see a coach because they spot the problems and opportunities in my swing that I don't see.
Yeah.
And they identify sort of bad habits, and they strengthen the areas of weakness in my game that I don't necessarily. So it's easy to form bad habits. Yeah. And then you do something to address that bad habit. You just, tweak or you change ever so slightly. And the result's okay, but it's not optimal. So I see a coach to spot those things, raise the awareness, and then, they work alongside you to support and amplify your strengths and then address your challenges. And it's the same in business.
Yeah, I think that's really true. And I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately about this topic. And one of the messages that's come through very loudly is that a coach is really there to help you find what's already within you. Just to bring out your potential. It's not so much that they're going to teach you something that is groundbreaking or new. It's just how do they push you to the next level of what's already there? Like just wake you up and give you awareness and coach you to the next level when it's always there, but you just got to get there yourself. So they kind of facilitate that in a way. What's your take on that?
I agree. I agree with you. I mean, most of the time, they're business owners in business because they're really good at something, and they've created a business, and for the large part, the business is successful. But over time, it can become a burden. You can burn out. You can, lose focus of the reason you got into business in the first place. You can form bad habits, as I've just said. And so it's really good to check in with, with a coach, let's say, or a mentor, just to address those things. Ask questions of yourself. I think when you're uncomfortable in business, you're growing. If you're not uncomfortable in business, you're probably plateaued.
I love that. Yep, I love it. So true. Like, you've always got to be, and particularly these days, there's so much new technology, so many new platforms, so much more of a call to learn how to market well and sell well. There's so much more to business than there was possibly so many years ago. And you have to continue to grow your skill set.
Yeah, you do. You do. Yeah, AI, of course.
And AI as well. I mean, it just doesn't end. Technology has put everything on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I agree. And look, a business owner can't, especially a small business owner, they can't wrap their head around these things. AI is very early in its journey at the moment. In any case, it's, the use cases for AI we're skimming the surface. I think it's important for business owners to understand those things, but I think it's probably, and look, it's important for them to understand the capabilities as it relates to supporting a business owner to become more efficient or more profitable. There's some really wonderful tools out there, but I think getting the grassroots of your business right, the foundations right, so that you can leverage those tools, that's even more important.
Yep.
You can't overlay AI tools when you've got really weak foundations in your business.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And similar concept, you can't go crazy and ramp up your marketing when your systems will fail if the load is too strong, and then the whole thing falls apart. So you've got to really make sure that the systems are, everything is in place and robust before you start turning the switch on and the engine even, to the next level.
Yeah, you're right. AI is great for lead generation and all of those sorts of things. But if you're doing a whole bunch of top of funnel, if you've got leads coming through, through your funnel into your business, and you're right, if you've got a sales force that's ill-equipped to be able to manage those leads and service those leads, and you've got, production or operations team that can't fulfill the requirements of the customers, then what's the point?
Everything just falls apart. Yeah. If your customer service is not great, if your delivery is late, or if your project delivery is over time and over budget, what's the point? Like, if you can't handle all that load, all the best systems and technology in the world is not going to help you.
Yeah. Look, and I think that's why coaches and mentors are really important. They kind of look holistically across your business.
Yeah.
I think you can think of them as a specialist generalist.
Yeah.
More than a specialist. A tax advisor is going to keep you compliant, do your best statements and those sorts of things, and be really hyper focused on your numbers.
Yep.
But if you went to a tax advisor, and say this with all due respect to all the tax advisors out there, but if you went to a tax advisor and sort of said, "Hey, I've got some cultural issues in my business, or some people problems, or I need to automate," it's not.
Don't talk to me. That's not my house.
That's right. Yeah. And a business owner can't afford to take lots of deep domain expertise from many, many domains, which is why business coaches are really, really valuable, in my opinion. They look across the business.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It's almost like a really good check on every facet, every aspect of your business.
Yeah.
And gives you just a good baseline of where you're at and where you might need to realign things if needed.
100%.
Love it. So when people come to you and they need assistance, or they come for that first call to explore whether they want to work with you or not, what are the general issues that people come with that you always see time and time again? That'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, okay. We sort of touched on one of them a minute ago, which is plateaued growth.
Yeah.
So they're stuck at a certain revenue level or efficiency level, and they don't really know how to break through that, to scale appropriately. I see this a lot, especially in the trades industry.
Okay.
Where, and I get it. I understand why. But business owners in trades typically think that more people equals more revenue. More people equals more jobs equals more revenue. But of course, more people also equates to more cost in their business. So the net benefit of that is actually, quite low.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas the opportunity to look at margins in the business and supply chains and look at alternative revenue streams, for example, or a big one is workforce efficiencies and procurement contracts. Doing things like that is really, really important to break through that plateau growth phase. Um, the other thing is lack of clarity as well. So what do I mean by that? It's about the business owner and or the team are not clear on their goals and their priorities and what's holding them back. And for me, this is a huge issue for me.
Wow.
I've seen business operating for 3 years or more, and they still don't have a business plan or a product roadmap or a strategy or anything. And I'll speak to a business owner about it, and they say, "Well, I don't need one because it's all in my head. Right? And as long as I'm here, everything's going to be fine." But of course, that presents as a critical person risk. So the business owner falls ill or they leave for whatever reason, and all of that is gone.
Yeah.
Right? And Darren, the problem for me there, I think, is from a team point of view, the team doesn't have anything to anchor to when times are tough. So there's no mission, there's no vision, there's no reason for getting up and doing what they do every day beyond money.
Yeah, there's no real culture as well. They're not living or breathing a particular culture, so they don't have a direction.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I can tell you what, money's not the thing that keeps staff loyal and productive. It's the vision of the company and the alignment to their belief system. If you get that right, you start to build a team, a crew, a company that works, a team that works for you as if they were the business owner.
Yeah.
And then magic happens.
Yeah, that's awesome. I agree. I do a lot of work as a recruiter, and I see this day in, day out.
Yeah, well, look, as a recruiter, then you'll understand the next point: team issues.
Yeah,
like whether that's hiring or retention of team members or leadership or managing people, whatever it might be, it's a huge pain point.
Yeah,
right. It draws the valuable time and money away from the business owner, time and money that they could be spending on business growth. So going back to that previous point about anchoring the team, that's the sort of thing that if you get right, you'll stop attrition and you won't have as many team issues.
I like that phrase. I've heard of anchoring prices, but I've never heard of anchoring your team. I like that concept. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's sort of something I guess it's a terminology I discovered whilst I was at Telstra.
Oh, nice.
For the 7 or 8 years that I was there. But it just popped out one day and I thought, I was doing some strategy work and I thought, I kind of like that because you kind of do need to anchor to something.
Yeah, I agree. You have to, it's basically allowing people to build common ideals and common vision and a common culture and, work towards something as a team, which is great. I love it.
Yeah. I think the last thing I just want to say is burnout too. So
yep.
It's a huge one. It's a huge one. When the owner's doing everything, clearly it's not sustainable at all, and it's an easy trap to fall into, especially for a good business. So I've come across a business recently where the business owner serves a local community. They provide community services, and he's a growing business with a small team. But the work keeps on coming to him and he keeps turning it down, saying that he hasn't got the time to do it because he's busy in every other area of his business, which is the exact problem that he needs to fix.
Yeah.
But they don't see that because they're too busy, shoveling coal and keeping the business going.
Yeah.
I get the desire to want to do that, but it's also really important to stop and reassess and make sure that your business can scale. So I've actually got a model that I'd like to share with the viewers that talks a little bit about how burnout can happen.
Great.
And so the model is called the ideal business model. So it talks about some of the issues with business owner burnout. And then by adopting an ideal business model, and it's a relatively simple model and principle to adopt, by adopting that, you can get around business burnout quite quickly and without a lot of effort. So
awesome.
All right. Since we're talking about common issues that business owners face, I thought I'd talk to you about business owner burnout and a model called the ideal business model. All businesses out there have an owner. They've got teams of people, they've got customers they serve, and they've got businesses or a business that they look after. Now, a lot of time, owners spend lots and lots of time with the team because they want more work out of them. At the same time, they're spending a ton of time with their customers because they want more sales. And then they spend a lot of time in the business because they want more money. And unfortunately, this requires more effort on the owner. And you find very quickly that the owner becomes a worker in their own business. So in fact, there is no team. There's just yourself doing all the work. With regards to customers, you tend to attract customers that are looking for a great price rather than attracting customers that look at value beyond price. And you find yourself very quickly in an occupation rather than the owner of a business. And for us, that is just simply not sustainable. So there must be a better way, surely. Introducing the ideal business model. So the ideal business model still talks about the owner, but the focus of the owner in the ideal business model is making sure that they spend all of their time, or the vast majority of their time, building an amazing team. The team then looks after the customers look after the business. Then guess who the business looks after? You got it, looks after the owner. Now, this is a really simple model in principle, but some things need to change in order for it to become effective. So starting with the owner of the business, the key focus has to be to step up to become a leader of your business. When you become a leader of your business, you start to turn your team into a crew. This is a crew that understands your business just as well as you do. They live by your principles and purpose and values and mission. In fact, they can run your business as if it was their own. Because you've got such a great crew who understand the motivation and the purpose of the business, you will start to, or their team will start to focus on customers that are referrers. They're A-grade customers. They're the customers you want, the people that pay on time, no issues with them whatsoever. So you're moving away from price point shoppers to people that, or to customers that are looking at value beyond price. Your customers will feed your business, and you'll step away from having an occupation. Your business is going to become an investment or an asset, essentially a saleable asset in the future, which looks after you and your family. So you've got to step out of being an owner or a worker in your business in order to start the ideal business model. But when you do, great things happen.
That's awesome, Mark. Well, I mean, really appreciate all that. I mean, those three things are huge, and particularly burnout. I mean, these days as well, with the world 24/7 nature of how we work, and burnout is a big one, and you hear it all the time. Even we've just come out of holiday now, and everybody's back into the swing, and they're thinking, "Oh my God, I feel like I didn't have a break. Like we're straight back into it again." So I think it's really important to manage that the best way you can.
Yeah, I do too. So I'm going to touch on something quickly. It's important to me. I think mental health, right, is a really big deal. It's been a big deal for a long time. And we've got, I've got mental health. I don't personally have mental health issues, but there's mental health issues within my family. So I felt the impact of mental health. I think also, though, with male business owners of my era, especially, and potentially yours, I think you're a bit younger than me, but
I'm actually about your age.
Right. Yeah. So, speaking about mental health issues as a man, our age, which a lot of business owners are, was frowned upon when we were kids.
It's right. Oh, yeah, it was taboo. You didn't say anything about that.
Sign of weakness. You're going to get dragged around the back of the bike shed and beaten up for it.
That's right.
But I think it's incredibly important for especially for all business owners, but for male business owners to sincerely dig into this in a big way and make sure that they spend a lot of time on their self as well.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that term self-care has become so huge these days as well. And that falls into that as well. Like you've really got to look after yourself and look after your mental stability and your rest and your sleep and your eating and your exercise and everything. Because if you don't function well, then you can't run your business well either.
You end up with baggy, saggy eyes like mine.
That's right. I love it. Awesome. Well, Mark, I'd like to get a little bit tactical. I mean, you've given us so much already, but if we can, and if anything comes, top of mind, if we want to do like a little quick 5-minute masterclass on some of the most important things that business owners need to get under control to run a successful business and grow their successful business and build and be happy and healthy, what would you kind of say they would be? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's kind of a few things that I think of when I think about, what I needed as a business owner as well. So I guess in terms of a loose framework, it would be to start with clarifying your vision, essentially. So ask yourself, are you ready for business? Yourself, are you prepared to go on the business journey? What does the ideal business look like in 1, 3, 5 years, whatever you choose?
Are you ready to be obsessed? Are you ready to put in the work, the time? Yeah,
correct. Yeah. It's a harder question to answer than you think.
Definitely.
A lot of people think they can jump into business and do and fail. The journey is a tough journey.
It seems glamorous, but it's not always that glamorous. You got to really be ready for the journey.
Yeah, and it is a toughie, but it can be hugely rewarding too.
Absolutely.
If you get it wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think be really specific. Have a think about your role in the business, the sorts of income that you want to produce from your business. Think about your time commitments, and then also how your business is going to operate too. So that's kind of a little bit about vision.
Nice.
Then I'd say have a think about the problems that you're trying to solve, or the opportunities that you have in your business that are worth chasing. A coach is no good to a business owner unless you're chasing one of those things.
Right.
And if you're not chasing one of those things, you probably should be as a business owner. Otherwise you've plateaued and you're back to one of those points of issue previously. So sometimes it's difficult for a business owner to identify problems in their business, and sometimes it's difficult for them to see the opportunity, and a coach can absolutely help with that as well.
Agree.
So there's those 2 points. I think then identify quick wins. I'm all about looking for 1 or 2 small areas of change in your business that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Right. Delegating a task, streamlining a process, addressing a recurring problem, just something small that's tangible that can move the needle, essentially. In my experience, the biggest quick wins are financial wins or time management wins.
Nice. I like it.
I think you can normally identify those really, really quickly and resolve them, more importantly, in the first 90 days.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. The next thing would be build accountability. So share your goals with someone who's going to hold you accountable, whether that's a mentor, a peer, a coach, doesn't really matter. But constant progress and consistent progress is really, really key.
Yeah.
And then I think lastly, or in fact, second to last, think about systems in your business, actually. So transitioning to an ideal business requires that you've got systems that work without you, right? And it's often best to start small and figure that out from the very beginning so that they scale with you. So get those repeatable processes identified, systemize, and then build from there.
Yeah, I love it. Love it.
Yeah. And then I think the last point is sort of back to the DNA and the passion of the business owner themselves. So ask yourself, Are you prepared to act? Right. And do you have the right attitude to positively change? Really, it's a tough question to answer, tougher than you think to answer that one.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think when things get tough in business, it'll be your attitude that pushes you through the pain, which will result in growth.
Yeah.
So do you have a pedigree to do that? I think it's really, really important.
Absolutely. And kind of touches a little on, I wanted to kind of circle back to accountability, because it's easy in business to, if something doesn't work out, to try and find a million other people or other things to blame. But the buck always stops with you as the business owner, because whatever it is that's happened, you've played the part. So you've got to take accountability for that and then just find a way to go forward.
Yeah, it's your business ultimately. So you've got to have the right attitude. You must act, right? Not doing anything is not doing anything. You can't progress the business, and you've got to be accountable. And look, it's hard, right? When you're in business, you are busy, man. You're doing all sorts.
Absolutely, especially small business. You're doing a million things at the same time. You're wearing a million hats.
You're doing a lot. So every now and again, for somebody to come in and support you and keep you honest and to keep you on track, focused on the big picture, helping you clear the pathway for success.
Yeah,
that's really important. Otherwise, you can end up going down the whole business owner burnout road, which isn't a great road to end up on.
Yeah. So I'd love, Mark, if you could share a success story. Maybe you could share us a story of how you might have helped a client transition out of a particular challenge, and what does that look like now for them? Obviously being confidential.
Yeah, I won't talk about the business name, but I'll talk about, my client, Kevin. So Kevin is a property maintenance business owner. He's based in London, and I've been coaching Kevin for about a year or so, something like that.
Yeah, cool.
And when he came to me, and I know Kevin quite well from golf trips and other things, but when he came to me, he was massively overwhelmed, frustrated, doing 70 hours ish per week in his business. And that was just to keep it afloat. His margins were razor thin. He spent days putting out fires. He had no time to think about growth. And he had very little personal freedom. Yeah. And I think also on top of that, to make matters worse, his clients were a real mixed bag. So, and I call them sort of A grade, B grade, C grade, D grade clients, as we coach. But some of them paid late. Others required constant attention, and only a few of them provided the real stability or security that he needed in his business. So what did we do? I've talked about time audits a little bit. So we identified bottlenecks in his business by commencing a time audit.
Nice.
So we looked at how he was spending his time each week. Remember earlier we talked about the whole 80-20 thing?
Yep.
That was the backdrop. We were thinking about the 20% of tasks that he could do that had 80% of the value. So look, 50% of his time was spent on manual tasks, scheduling, invoicing, payments, those sorts of things.
Yep.
About 30% of his time was managing small, one-off, unreliable clients. And then only 20% of his time was actually spent on his business, trying to move the needle. So that was a problem.
Yeah. It just goes to show you how important a time audit is. My God, what it can discover is quite phenomenal.
Yeah, look, you just get busy, right? You get busy and you think you do it because if you're busy all the time, it must be a good thing.
You're busy and everything's great, yeah.
Right? But it's not.
Yeah.
You got to be busy on the right things, and he wasn't being busy on the right thing. So it's actually pretty hard to just stop and sense check those things and question yourself. But it was very important for Kevin to do that. And
nice.
Yeah, I think so. So on top of that, his margins were pretty terrible. He was underpricing a lot of his business. to compete really with cheaper, less professional operators in the UK. And he had a better product. But because he was competing on price, it was always a race
to the bottom.
Yeah, thank you. And again, that's not really sustainable. So we took a look at those two things. We then looked at building systems in his business and then delegating some of those mundane tasks. So you and I spoke earlier on about VAs and, the benefit of VAs and those sort of stuff. So we systemized a lot of the manual process stuff that he was looking at. We hired some virtual assistants to handle customer inquiries and follow-ups and those sorts of things, just the day-to-day sort of administration tasks. And then for the on-site work, he just got a couple of really reliable team members that can handle the day-to-day maintenance stuff. So with the free time that Kev has now reclaimed, we then we shifted our focus and we started to look at high-value activities. So we looked at those 20% of activities that would add 80% to his results. And for Kevin, that meant building strategic partnerships with real estate agents in England, and property management companies. So we pitched his business slightly differently. We pitched his business and emphasized trust and reliability and professionalism. And it was everything that landlords and agents value in a property management partner, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, he was then able to put his margins up, because now he was priced in on value, not on price. And then I think within about 4 or 5 months, he was able to secure 3 long-term maintenance contracts with A-grade clients. These are people that pay on time, that pay based on value. And that for him provided stable, predictable revenue streams for him.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And you continue to work with him regularly?
Yeah, we're more into maintenance now. So we're quite a bit in. But we're more into looking at opportunities worth chasing. So his business is now pretty solid, and it runs without him. He can step out of the business, and we then now work together on opportunities for his business to scale.
Nice. Love it. Oh, fantastic. Love that. Really cool. And my last question really is just to get a sense of, if anyone else out there is thinking about working with a business coach, what would you say to them? How should they choose a business coach? Because there are so many business coaches out there.
A good business coach, in my opinion, should be a business partner to you, but also someone you get on with. We spoke earlier on about when times get tough, and it will get tough. It typically gets tough around 6 months into a coaching journey. But it's a really good thing, because success normally follows that pain. So you got to push through those 6 months, and you'll get really great success. So you need to think about working with a coach that gets you, that understands your drivers and your mission and your beliefs, and then I think, so they're first principles for me. And then on top of that, there's probably 4 other aspects that you want to consider when working with a coach. Do they have experience? So have they been in the trenches themselves? Do they have a proven track record? Can they help people like you? Do they align with your values? Is the second thing. I think for me, this is an important one. The relationship's got to feel right. So you need someone that's prepared to listen to you and challenge you constructively, but also somebody that understands your goals as well. The third thing is that you have to focus on results. So look for somebody that prioritizes measurable outcomes, especially early on. There's lots of big long-term 12, 18-month coaching programs out there that focus on transformation. Wrote a few articles recently about the importance of transition and getting things, getting some quick wins on the board early. So small, steady steps. I think that's really important. Yeah. My view is that within 90 days, you need to be showing value.
Love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, they just need to be able to offer practical advice too. So theory is really good.
Yeah.
Lots of great coaching theory books out there. But actionable strategies are much, much better. So
Nice.
I think a good coach is not going to just talk to you, about theory. They're going to actually guide you through implementation. That means your team needs to act on it, and you as the business owner has got to be accountable. But we'll actually help you with, guide you through the implementation of these changes.
Very cool. Yeah, very, very cool. All right. And I'd love for you to tell the audience a bit more about how you actually work. Like, what's your process? Do you have a discovery call? How do you engage with your clients?
I take a step-by-step tailored approach to each of my clients' needs. However, there's probably 3 things I do as part of my role as a local business coach and advisor. So the first thing we do is promote local businesses by running a PR piece. It's think of that like a local testimonial for the business, which we share on our social channels, and the customers get to share that on their social channels too. It's a really good way to understand the business, the value of the business, and then promote that on behalf of the business owner. In terms of frameworks, I then run a 90-minute boardroom session. It's a complimentary session as part of the engagement with me. So I start with a really deep dive into the current state of the business. I identify our strengths and challenges and goals. I essentially want to know about the problems that exist within the business, or the opportunities that the business owner wants to chase. And there's normally about 30 to 45 minutes of pre-work required beforehand to prepare for the session in order to get the most value from it. But the really cool part is that whether they take on my coaching program or not, at the end of the session, the business owners leave with the plan to action at the end of the boardroom session, and at least 3 key projects that they can focus on in order to move one step closer to their business goal.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's tangible from the get-go.
Tangible from the beginning.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. You'll get value from the very first session.
Amazing.
And then the third thing is, of course, coaching and advisory services. So that's where the rubber hits the road and we start to action the agreed strategy from the boardroom. We'll typically start with an alignment session, and then we'll do an optimization session too. And like I said previously, I don't believe in boiling the ocean. So I want to see tangible results within the first 90 days, ideally. So firstly, focus on quick wins, prioritize actionable steps that deliver immediate value. So that's the first thing we'll do. Then we'll look at long-term strategy. So once we see some early results, then we'll shift to building systems and strategies that better align with their vision for ideal business. And as I mentioned earlier on, we'll look right across the business.
Nice.
And we'll align the plan to the needs of the business and the business growth. And then accountability is part of the advisory and coaching services. So it's important that we keep, the business owner accountable, regular check-ins to ensure that progress stays on track, and we adapt the plan as the business evolves and improves. I personally hold business owners accountable, but they must be willing to act, as I mentioned earlier, and they've got to have the right attitude. So they've got to be okay with change, and they've got to focus on the long game.
Love it. Sounds like a really nice engagement and a nice process. Lots of value.
Thank you.
Well done. Well, Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've learned a lot myself, as I love to do, and it's been so insightful talking to you. So there's been a lot of great insight for the audience. If people want to work with you, what's the best way? How do they find you?
You can always visit my website, which is markullah.trustedadvisor.com.au. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, or for more information, just reach out directly to. I offer a no commitment consultation initially, where we can discuss people's goals and see if coaching is the right fit for you.
Amazing. Well, I'll definitely put all those details in the show notes. So definitely check those out. Really enjoyed that. There's been so much value, so much great insight, and lots of experience obviously shines through. Now, I always like to leave my guest with the last word. So is there anything else that you kind of want to leave us with? Any message, any last thought for the business owners out there that might be great for them in 2025?
Yeah, pearls of wisdom. So, look, building your business does not require drastic change. To get an ideal business, it doesn't require drastic change. It starts with small intentional steps. So if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed or unsure about what the next move is, don't wait. Seek some help, whether that's me or through some other coaching or mentoring organization. I think focus on one improvement this week, but do something about it. Like start to move the needle.
I like that.
The business, you got to remember the business should be working for you and not the other way around. So if there are business owners out there that agree with this statement, drop me a line, be brave, invest in yourself. Let's make a start.
Yeah, I love that. And it kind of shines through. I'm very passionate on implementation as well. You can learn, you can listen, you can study, you can do courses, you can go to webinars. But if you don't actually do anything about it, nothing changes. You have to take something and actually put it into practice as quick as you can.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like I said earlier on, like being okay with being uncomfortable, being comfortable with being uncomfortable in business is probably a really good place to be. If you're feeling uncomfortable about the changes that you're making in your business and on yourself as a business leader, then you're probably growing and you're probably on your way to your ideal business.
Love it.
Yeah.
Sensational. Well, Mark, really amazing to have you on the show. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Everyone out there, check out Mark. I'll put all the details in the show notes. He knows what he's talking about. He's a lovely guy and he'd be fascinating to work with and give you lots of value as well. And something that I just wanted to leave the audience with, if anybody is thinking about podcasting as a new way to market in 2025, I'm just launching a fantastic free 7-day challenge where you'll get loads of great content every single day for free that will help you put a podcast together really quickly and understand the world of podcasting. So I'll put those in the show notes as well. So check those out. But Mark, thanks again for coming on the show. Everyone, I'll see you very, very soon for our next episode 250, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks again, Mark.
Yes, Darren. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining me for another episode of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation podcast. If you would like to join me as a guest on the show, I would be delighted to collaborate. Just reach out via www.suspendedanimation.com.au. Also, remember to click on the link in the show notes for loads of great podcasting resources, webinars, courses, and opportunities to help you on your podcast journey. Many of them free. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.